Hi, I'm Katrina from Unity of New Orleans. Welcome to our Sunday service, our Sunday satsang, which means to be in the company of truth. We will begin with our invocation, which was written by Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore. We are now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. We acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. In thy divine wisdom, now erase our mortal limitations, and from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation our world according to thy perfect law. And the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village on the edge of a forest. And whenever she went out, she would put on a red cloak. So naturally, everyone in the village called her Little Red Riding Hood. Now one morning, Little Red Riding Hood asked her mother if she could go visit her grandmother, because it had been a really long time. "That's a great idea," her mother said. And so they packed up a basket full of goodies. And when the basket was ready, Little Red Riding Hood, she put on her hat, and she put on her red cloak, and she kissed her mother goodbye. "Remember," her mother said, "go straight to grandmother's house. The woods are very dangerous." Little Red Riding Hood promised. "I will, Mother," she said, "I promise." And so off she went into the woods to go to grandmother's house. But in the middle of this beautiful glen of trees, she began to notice the flowers. And there were butterflies, and there were birds singing in the trees, and she heard some frogs off in the distance, and she just couldn't help but stop for a moment to pick a few flowers for grandmother, to admire the beauty all around her, and to listen to the birds, and to look at those butterflies floating in the air, and to feel the warm sun on her head and shoulders. And she was so caught up in the amazing wonder of this moment that she didn't notice a dark shadow creeping up behind her. And suddenly, there was a wolf right next to her. Now, why am I telling a children's story? Because children's stories are how we learn some of our first programs, patterns, and beliefs. And what does this story teach us? Well, in psychoanalysis, the woods actually represent the unconscious mind, because the forest is dark and it's wild, and it's uncultivated, and it's unpredictable, and it's unknown. And in fact, many children's stories involve the characters getting lost in the woods. Think of Snow White, Hansel and Gretel, Goldilocks. So getting lost in the woods is actually a lesson in fear, especially fear of the unknown. So we learn fear ever since we're children. And I wonder, have you been experiencing fear lately? You know, Hurricane Ida came through on August the 29th. It was the 16th anniversary of my namesake storm, Hurricane Katrina. And it was a Category 4 hurricane. And the fear in New Orleans was so strong, it was palpable. I could feel it. Now, the truth is that we don't know what the future holds. And the past is already gone. So we can really only find happiness in the present moment. We can choose to remain calm and aware, regardless of the circumstance, without being fearful. It was Joseph Campbell who said, "Opportunities to find deeper powers within ourselves come when life seems most challenging." Opportunities to find deeper powers within ourselves come when life seems most challenging. What you practice grows stronger. So I want to talk about fear. Fear is a natural, powerful, and primitive human emotion. It's actually a survival mechanism. And fear alerts us to the presence of danger or the threat of harm, whether that danger is real or perceived, and whether that danger is physical or psychological. Now, sometimes fear does come from a very real threat. And this involves, whenever we feel fear, it involves a biochemical response as well as an emotional response. The biochemical response is that we start sweating, our heart starts racing, and we get this rush of adrenaline and cortisol through our system that prepares us to fight or flee, which we call the fight or flight response. Now, the emotional response to fear is highly personalized. Mr. Fillmore defined fear in the revealing word as one of the most subtle and destructive errors that the carnal mind in man experiences. It paralyzes mental action. It weakens both the mind and body. Fear throws dust in our eyes and hides the mighty spiritual forces that are always with us. Now, there is no fear in the upper room. In your higher state of consciousness, which we call the upper room, there is no fear. One of my favorite authors and channels, Paul Selig, wrote, "We must understand that what we know as fear is an agreement to be fearful. When we stop agreeing to be fearful, we stop aligning to fear. As you stop agreeing to fear, you stop claiming it and making it so. And you can begin to see a new world expressing itself which is operating outside of fear." Fear is an agreement to be fearful. And when you stop agreeing to fear, you can claim a new world. Now, in Unity, we believe that there is only one power. There's only one source. So in that sense, everything is divine. Everything is of God. And the divine is the only truth. Now, the divine as what you are is your true nature. And as you align to the divine, what is claimed by you will actually confirm your divinity. What is claimed by you will confirm your divinity. Now, fear is the denial of the divine. And the denial of the divine is the only real problem that humanity faces. What you put in darkness calls you to the darkness. Remember, fear is an agreement to be fearful. But what you hold in truth calls you to your divinity. To align with your true self, we have to move through the shadow, through the forest, through the fear. And when you align with your divinity, your true self, your higher self, in the upper room, there is no fear. The true self that you are is unafraid. The true self that you are is eternal. So when you lift to the upper room, you lift your consciousness up to the divine. And from that higher perspective, you lift everything that you encounter so that it can be made new. Now, this is such a powerful lesson for us because, indeed, Hurricane Ida was a very intense storm. On the Friday before the storm, the news started saying it could be potentially catastrophic. And I started to receive messages and phone calls and emails from friends and family around the country and even around the world telling me to get out of town, to leave now, don't stay. And the news was provoking anxiety and fear. And what I had to do was turn it off. Turn off the news. Don't listen to those messages. Don't pay attention to what's happening around me. Be aware, but not tap into that fear, but to turn within and to listen to my higher guidance, the higher self within me, the truth, which is my divine self. And I felt calm. I knew I was not in danger. And I guided my actions accordingly. Now we read in Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10, "Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious right hand." Don't be afraid, for I am with you. The I am is with you. Your higher self is within you. What you practice grows stronger. So I'd like to talk about mindfulness. This is a really popular subject right now. And there's been tons of research and lots of evidence on the power of mindfulness and why we should exercise mindfulness in our lives. Now, mindfulness is a psychological state of awareness. And there are practices that promote this type of awareness. Mindfulness is that moment-to-moment presence. Several disciplines and practices cultivate mindfulness, such as yoga and meditation, prayer, mantra, tai chi, qigong. And these self-regulation practices focus on training our attention and our awareness in order to bring mental processes under greater voluntary control. They foster a general well-being and the development of specific capacities such as calmness and mental clarity, concentration, and inner peace. Now, the research on mindfulness has identified many benefits. The first is reduced rumination. And in psychology, we understand rumination to be the obsession of repetitive thoughts or excessively thinking about your problems, the perseveration on what is not right in your life. Mindfulness also creates a stress reduction. There are many, many studies that show that practicing mindfulness reduces stress, and there's evidence that these mindfulness practices, such as meditation, increase our positive affect and decrease our anxiety and our negative affect. Mindfulness boosts memory. Improvements to memory appear to be a benefit of mindfulness. It also helps us to focus. When we meditate or we practice presence, mindful awareness, we can focus our attention, and it helps us to suppress the distractions around us. Mindfulness practices increase our information processing speed, and they decrease the task effort. These practices also help us to be less emotionally reactive, more cognitively flexible. They help with relationship satisfaction. There's been several studies that show that a person's ability to be mindful can help with relationship satisfaction because you have the ability to respond well to the stress that shows up in your relationships, and it helps with better communication skills. And there are so many health benefits to these mindfulness practices. It increases your immune functioning. It improves your overall well-being and reduces your psychological and physical distress. Mindfulness also enhances insight, intuition, and fear modulation. Once again, we can turn to the scriptures and find in the book of John, the chapter is 14, verse 27, it says, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid." And now we know that the Fillmores were meditators. It was one of the big practices that they taught. They spent an hour in the silence every evening. They also taught us about contemplative prayer. And so they were utilizing these mindfulness practices to tap in to that higher self within. And that is what they modeled for us, and that is what they taught us. And in Unity, we continue to teach that these mindfulness practices like prayer or meditation can indeed bring about that peace that we read about in the Gospel of John. Now, what you practice grows stronger. So what I'd like to offer today are some mindfulness tools for stress management to help you with the fear and the anxiety that we are all dealing with right now. If it wasn't a hurricane, it's probably COVID, or it might be something else like your finances. Indeed, these are some stressful times to be alive on the planet, and these tools can prove invaluable for helping you to stay connected to the higher self within you so that you can navigate life with more ease and grace. And what we teach in Unity is that if this stuff is not practical, it is meaningless. If you cannot apply these spiritual principles in your life, then what is the point? For knowledge without experience is as useless as no knowledge itself. So let's look at some mindfulness tools now so we can put these concepts into practice. And I've come up with a little way to remember how to become mindful. I know you all recall the stop, look, and listen, which we were taught as children whenever we were at the railroad crossing or even just a street corner. Stop, look, and listen. To avoid danger, we need to be mindful. We need to pay attention. So we're going to use these ideas, stop, look, and listen, as those reminders for these mindfulness tools. So the first one is stop, which means slow down, pause. You know, we're often so busy in life that we're rushing around trying to get everything done. We're multitasking, and research also shows that we're not very effective at multitasking. But when we pause, we can be fully present and engaged in this moment. And you know, the truth is that we're conditioned to believe that if we stay busy, we will accomplish more. But that mentality really does lead to exhaustion and stress and overwhelm. So slowing down helps us to connect with the needs of our mind and body. It helps us to reduce our stress, and it helps us to tune in, to be mindful. Mindfulness really does allow us to feel what is happening and to be present with it. For example, you can pause and wonder, how am I feeling? Where are my thoughts? Am I tired? Am I stressed? What do I need right now? So slow down, check in, and choose to remain calm and focused. Second, look. What is really happening? What's really going on? Am I reacting or responding to this situation? What happens is that most of us are actually reacting to stress, to fear, based on our past experience, our likes and dislikes, our preferences, our beliefs, our patterns, what we've been taught as children. Our instinct is to react to stress or fear, and we become mindless rather than mindful. So mindfulness teaches us to pause when we are upset and to respond rather than react. It helps us to differentiate between what is a real threat and what is a perceived threat. So when we look at what is really happening, we can observe the circumstance, and we can be with those intense emotions like the fear or the anxiety or the pain or the grief. Now we might consider is not the best time to deal with the situation. We might realize my heart is racing, my pulse is fast, my face feels flushed, I'm not thinking clearly, and maybe the best thing to do with this situation is to slow down, to pause, and to look at what is really happening. When you stop and look at what's going on, this is where you find space. Now, Viktor Frankl, who was an Austrian neurologist and psychiatrist, a philosopher and an author, and a Holocaust survivor, said, "Between stimulus and response, there is space." Between stimulus and response, there is space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lives our growth and freedom. Mindfulness offers us stability, space, growth, and freedom. Thirdly, listen. Stop, look, listen. Listen to your inner guidance. Your higher self, which we call the Christ consciousness in unity, or your Buddha consciousness, or your Krishna consciousness, is the aspect of the divine that can be realized through your form, through your body. What Christ modeled for us was the realization of the divine through the human form. He modeled being fully human and fully divine. And that is what we are here to experience. Now, this higher state of consciousness, this Christ consciousness, is your inherent potential. You were made in the image and the likeness of the divine. You are an expression of the divine in form through the Christ consciousness. The divine as what you are actually exists in a place where fear cannot manifest. There is no fear in the upper room. When you claim the true self that you are, you claim love, freedom, and you claim truth. And its manifestation will teach you. Paramahansa Yogananda, the great yogi who founded the Self-Realization Fellowship in California in 1920, said, "You are all God's if only you knew. Behind the wave of your consciousness is the sea of God's presence. You must look within. Don't concentrate on the little wave of the body with its weaknesses. Look beneath. Close your eyes and you see the vast omnipresence before you. Everywhere you look, you are in the center of that sphere. And as you lift your consciousness from the body and its experiences, you find that that sphere is filled with great joy and bliss that lights the stars and gives power to the winds and storms. The truth of who you are, the divine self, the Christ in you, sees and perceives everything it encounters as divine. To lift something to the upper room is to re-see it as of God, to re-know it as divine. When you lift something to that level, you align with a higher perspective. For the divine sees the divine in all manifestation. And truly, God, the divine, cannot be outside of anything, but it can be masked or hidden or claimed as fear. When you listen to your inner guidance, you rise above the fear, and you can see everything more clearly. And from this higher state of awareness, you can experience the upper room, or the kingdom of heaven. Now, the kingdom is the realization of the divine that is already present. The kingdom of heaven is a state of consciousness that we can experience here on earth. It is here, and it will only be known by the one who knows the truth of who he or she is. You cannot lift the world to the higher dimension from a lower level of consciousness. When you lift yourself up to the higher octave, the upper room, the Christ consciousness, you help to raise the consciousness up. So listen, go within. What does your higher self say to you? What is that guidance from the source within you? So we have these three principles: stop, look, and listen. And this is how we can remember to put these mindfulness practices into action in our lives. when things get stressful. For truly, what you practice grows stronger. It was because I stopped to listen to my inner guidance during Hurricane Ida that I knew that we would not be in any kind of harm if we stayed for the storm. Now, consequently, we stayed. And because we were here, we were able to do a lot of damage control. We had water coming in through the ceiling, the windows, the doors. There was so much water. We would have had significant damage to our property if we had evacuated before the hurricane. And when I stopped and turned off the news and turned off the fear-mongering and turned off all of the stress and anxiety that was happening around me, my inner guidance told me that we would be okay, that we were safe, that we were not in danger. And because I listened to that, I was able to save our property, and we were not in any danger. Now, we did evacuate the next day when the power grid was significantly damaged, and we discovered that it would be a while before we had power restored. But because we were here, we were really able to manage the potential damage that this hurricane could have brought to our property, our lives, and our pets. So in conclusion, to wrap this all up, as Mr. Fillmore said, fear is one of the most subtle and destructive errors that the carnal mind in man experiences. It paralyzes mental action. It weakens both the mind and body. Now, there is no fear in the upper room. When we practice mindfulness, that moment-to-moment awareness, that presence, it reduces our fear, our stress, and our emotional reactivity, while increasing our mental focus, our clarity, and our peace. To return to this state of mindfulness, this awareness, presence, remember, stop, look, and listen. Fear is something that we learn from childhood, but we can choose to remain calm and clear regardless of our circumstances. What you practice grows stronger. So remember your mindfulness tools. It will change your life. And of course, let's have an experience of this. So we have this beautiful opportunity to enter into higher consciousness, to open our hearts and to know the presence of the living spirit, which is the source of all joy and all peace, all beauty, all wholeness and oneness. So I invite you to gently close your eyes and bring your awareness to your breath. And simply notice your breath as it flows in through your nose, and feel the cool air as it passes into your nostrils and fills your lungs. And as you exhale slowly, observe the breath, warm, flowing out, as you allow yourself to release any tension that you may be feeling, and allow yourself to slow down and settle in. In this meditation, we are going to practice connecting with what is true, what is real. And we will cultivate a loving energy for ourselves as we nurture what is true and find an inner peace. So give yourself permission to be fully supported, to connect with the source within you and around you, and to be open to what comes with a state of comfort and relaxation. So I invite you to begin to scan your body. And as I say each part of your body, I invite you to allow that part of your body to become very relaxed, to find ease in your body. Now feel your feet and allow your feet to relax. And then move your attention from your feet up into the lower legs and the knees. And allow relaxation to move into your awareness as you feel your thighs becoming heavy and connected. And taking a deep breath as you release any tightness in the lower back, in the belly. Continuing to release and relax the chest and the shoulders, allowing the arms and the hands to rest. Feel the back of your neck and your throat release, relaxing your jaw. Feeling the muscles in the face, letting go. The top of the head relaxed. Now feel the entire body relaxed and peaceful. Allowing your breath to flow in a steady, natural rhythm as you become more and more relaxed. Know that you are safe and supported. And as you are feeling fully relaxed, let us begin an inquiry process by just checking in with what is true for you. What are you actually feeling in this moment? Making space for the truth to surface in whatever form it comes. Perhaps considering a situation or a feeling where you might be overwhelmed or anxious. Recognize that what you are feeling is what it is, as you accept it in this present moment. Making space for awareness and acceptance. Recognizing the self-talk that might be going on in your mind. Simply exploring what these feelings and thoughts are. Acknowledging and allowing them to be without judgment. Being very present with what you're feeling. creating space during this moment of pause to allow yourself to stop the negative self-talk or the old patterns before they come. Choosing to respond skillfully rather than react. Exploring your truth. Breathing deeply as you allow space for your truth to surface. Beginning to let go of any judgments, letting go of the self-limiting beliefs, letting go of expectations, letting go of fear. Any negativity that you may be holding on to. Any anger or fear or anxiety. And as you allow these feelings and emotions to surface, do so with a sense of unconditional love for yourself, with a sense of care and compassion. Taking this time to nurture yourself. As you open your heart, ask yourself what it is that you need in this moment to care for yourself, to nurture and support you. And listen, really listen to what it is that you need in order to be calm, to find peace within. And in this moment, know that you are divine, that you are loved, and that there are no conditions that can change this truth. Feel yourself held in the arms of the divine. And know that the God seed in you is established to grow and to flourish. And that you are becoming more and more fully that which the divine has created you to be. And know that as we align our hearts and our minds with this truth, the oneness with the divine, that we evolve in wonderful ways, and the bounty of spirit manifests through us. So let the peace of these realizations wash over you. And when you are ready, bring your awareness back into your body. And with gratitude in your heart, gently open your eyes. Welcome back. Namaste. And we will close with the prayer for protection written by James Dillett Freeman. The light of God surrounds me. I am the light. The love of God enfolds me. I am the love. The power of God protects me. I am the power. The presence of God watches over me. I am the presence. Wherever I am, God is, and I am safe and secure, and all is well. The Lord watches between me and thee, while we are absent one from the other, and helps us to know that we are all one in spirit. And so it is. Blessed be. Namaste. Amen.